All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Tim Smith, and this is the Chef Infra client triage for April 20th, 2020. It's a lot of 20s. We are getting close to Chef 16, and we have a few probably last-minute additions to look at. So we're going to go over some PRs and some issues. Like I said last week, I think we're in pretty good shape because we've been keeping up to date. It helps to do triage. It makes triage easier when you do the triage. All right, so I'm going to share off my screen. And that's the window. There we go. No, I don't want to do my recovery settings. Not today, GitHub. Not today. All right. So I'm going to hit up PRs first. Maybe a little Lamont will show up. Otherwise, I'm just going to merge some stuff. He'll get to complain later.
YOLO.
YOLO, yeah. We got a few here. We merged some other stuff, and that, again, is why we don't have a whole lot to triage, because we've been triaging it as we go. I'm going to look at Dan's thing first. I have some thoughts on this. I was kind of hoping Lamont would be here, but he's not, so what are you going to do? This is an issue that came up a while ago with the archive file resource. So the goal of the archive file resource was to replace a few different kind of versions of the archive file resource. We had like, I don't know, probably about 10, realistically, count them all. And one of those, the most feature-rich, is the Poise archive resource. And we have a cook style rule that detects Poise archive resource and tells you to use archive file instead. And the problem is the Poise archive resource will actually go download a file for you, which is probably what you actually want. I don't think a lot of people want to have to chain a remote file to an archive file in order to have it handle that. They want to just tell archive file, like, go fetch a file and put it on disk. I think this, for the most part, accomplishes that. The only part that I wonder is there's some very nice magic in Poise archive that magically detects if you have a URL versus a path. It tries to parse it with URI, and if it's a parsable URL, then it uses remote file to download it. And I think that is actually reasonable magic. Because this now behaves really like this, the syntax of this behaves really differently if you're passing a URL versus a path. So I wonder if we want to actually adopt that magic. And there's a few places I would like to use that same magic. So.
This is not, there was another pull request to add like zip file support to remote file, right?
When was that?
Or
was that recently?
It's just Monday for me. No, it wasn't accepted, but it's there, isn't it?
I don't. Did I miss one? I think you're dreaming, Lamont.
Maybe I just didn't get enough sleep last night.
Yeah. So there's some magic in Poise archive. So like you can do this, right? Which is what I think people want to be able to do, because normally an archive file you would be like / wherever I downloaded the thing tar.gz, right? So it's kind of logical that you would also be able to just put the URL right as the resource name, but that does require like basically parsing out that resource name and being like, it's a parsable URL, download it, or it's a path, don't download it. But I think this API is actually pretty, from a user standpoint, is pretty nice. It requires more work on our part to make that work, but
yeah, I mean, you're never gonna really get that wrong because
it's pretty easy to do.
files
Right.
never start with http:// or //
Yeah, I think there's a few other, there's some edge cases, but for the most part, like you could even make it crappier and just be like, hey, look, it starts with HTTP.
Right.
You could probably, even do it without like trying to parse it with URI.
And what I think that's a like parse with URI rescue, treat it as a file.
Yeah, where was I
That
don't know
seems
where Noah's thing is even. This is all Poisey.
Yeah, is URI.
Yeah, so like,
Yep.
yeah, that wasn't even parsing with URI. That's just a regex.
No, just using regex to see if it looks like anything.
Yeah, so like, I kind of think we should just copy and paste some of this and make it basically behave the same way. It is something we super need. It makes the archive file actually usable, in my opinion. We also need to fix that stupid file mode thing that doesn't work.
We may already have something like that in remote file, right?
I think we have some similar places where we're doing a similar thing. Like I kind of was like, man, this should really just be a helper, to be honest.
Yeah, I think remote file, it forces you to use the file ://.
We had this whole like conversation when I tried to add the trusted certificate resource, and there was some magic in that cookbook that was like, path can either be a path on the file system or it can be like all these other different ways that you could specify a path. So it's a thing that I think is reasonable to support. We probably want that in multiple places.
Yeah, we want to have a standardized way of doing that, though.
Yeah, that was the issue with like the trusted cert one, is like it was different, and we need just like the one way that people know, like, oh, well, I either make it a file path or it starts with HTTP, and that means it's not. Yeah, I'll chat with Dan about this and see if he's up to making this look a little more like Boys Archive. And then I'm gonna remember myself that I need to fix that file mode thing, because that's totally broken. This was just, this other one, 9694, was just me opening up a PR that somebody had that had like a really trivial merge conflict, and it was just the Pac-Man multi-package. I wanted to see if this even worked. It seems overly simple, but maybe that's just because Pac-Man is not homebrew.
I mean, to a certain extent, I think we should just like, if they're cool with this, just merge it, because we don't really test on Pac-Man, so it's kind of like it's up to their bug reports.
Well, I mean, I would just test it. It's not hard.
You can.
It's not hard. I mean, you just go spin up an Arch box and go check out the repo and chef apply, and
sure,
boom, there you go. If it works, it works, right? Like, is there going to be edge cases? Maybe, sure. Like, I'm not going to put a huge amount of effort in there, but I'm going to make sure that like the same thing kind of I did with Homebrew, like does an upgrade work? Does an install work? Does it work with an array? Does it work with a string? Cool, looks like it works.
I would not even bother doing that, but if you want to.
I just like, I know after doing that Homebrew one that these things are full of
shit. They are.
This seems like too easy, so I'm a little suspicious where I'm like, I don't know if this works.
They are.
If it works, like I would love to merge this, because that's one more. I'd really like to get to the point where like they all support arrays, because the way our docs are generated automatically, because everything inherits from package, like the docs auto generator says everything supports arrays, and it's not true. So like,
we could break that. We could break that maybe now if we wanted to. rip that out of the superclass and drop it into subclasses. Although I think that causes problems. Chef spec.
What I wondered if we wanted to do for the ones that didn't support it, since that's smaller, is to say, could we just redefine those as being strings?
Redefine what?
Like, so right now, like Arch doesn't support.
Oh yeah, you could put it in the subclass.
Can you just put it in the subclass and be like, it's a string?
Yes, that would be better. Then you get the other kind of failure where chef spec will accept that probably for the subclass.
I'm less concerned about chef spec.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like debating whether that would work before, where I'm like, that would work, right? Like it would just redefine it and the last one wins, and like, and now it's a string.
Well, you have to pick between either chef spec will always reject multi-package or chef spec will always accept multi-package.
What do you mean by that?
So if you went into the superclass and ripped the arrays out of there,
oh, I get what you mean. Because
you would break chef spec for every single multi-package resource. It would barf and tell you to go fuck off.
Wait, won't it like map to what the underlying provider would be based on the Bohi data?
Chef spec doesn't go through the resource resolver.
Oh, well, yeah.
So you're always hitting the package provider. The package.
Cool.
Resource package.
Yeah, then let's not break it on the super.
No, but so what you said though would work, which is in the subclass, redefine it to be an array. Then spec just always works with multi-package.
Yeah, I might do that because it was super annoying when I was trying to generate docs. And I'm fairly certain that a lot of our docs are wrong because people got the wrong impression because you can pass arrays. And also it doesn't fail, right? Like it does terrible things because like you can pass an array in. Because the class is like, it's cool, it's an accepted type. And it's like, no, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick that on my whiteboard.
Yeah, totally go do that. I don't even know that's a breaking change.
It's kind of not. I mean, like it is, but that's a bug fix. Like it would never work. If you pass an array in there, it would just explode in your face. But it wouldn't explode nicely. It wouldn't just be like, wrong type. It would be like, I can't split or something. Some, terrible nil error that you always get. I think this might work, actually. I'm going to go restart this build since they redeployed Expediter today. I bet we get magical caching now. There are some bugs. It turns out permissions in gems are really hard. This was another one that Dan did. I don't think anybody's using this. I was trying, as I read the code and found this as a deprecated thing, I made a note. There was actually a note in cook style to detect this. And I tried to find an example of somebody doing this on the supermarket, and I couldn't find any of them.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does this ever.
I don't think anybody has ever done this. Like, this is one of those things that, like, I almost feel like our release notes are scarier than the upgrades really are because we're, like, being very honest about what breaking changes are. But this is, like, in my mind, not even a breaking change. Like, nobody does this. We can mention it, and then maybe I'll put a comment in that's like, you do not have this problem. Trust us.
We deprecated the old, dependency constraints that nobody's used for 10 years.
I would like to see maybe if you could toss me an example of what this actually looks like, though, Lamont, so I can just detect that.
It should be in the specs. So if he fixes the specs,
just
show up those things that look like those.
So is it just like depends on a cookbook with that, or
like that?
And it's only on depends, right?
Yeah, handle deprecated constraints right there. So specification inject into the mash.
All right.
And if constraint size is greater than 1, G sub. Yeah, those two kinds of things and strip them. Yep.
All right, that should be pretty easy. I think I can just actually split out operators and style. So depends is just a method call, and then there's a weird operator after it. Yeah, I can almost guarantee that no one is using that, but I will put a copy in for it. just so we can say we did it. All right. I think we already looked at this one. I am fairly positive we have not gotten an update on it. Oh, we did. Look at that. Oh, this is just like the need for.
No, that's busted. It's wrong.
Yeah, we should just close this out and say that we're going to backport DNF when it's proven to be stable.
Yeah, because that was definitely not the correct thing. They respond to it. So what are they saying? Those changes did not fix my issue. They break backwards compatibility with existing attribute values. So
Is this the like 14 to 15 yum behavior changes?
I meant to test this out this past week because I ran into some of this, but I forgot to.
Oh, I could just close it. So excited.
Because I know I was running into something like this before.
Turns out package managers are really hard, especially yum.
DNF too.
Well, I'm so hopeful that DNF was going to be like significantly better than yum. And I'm like, what did they do? It's like the same thing.
It just made it more complicated.
This is not better. They just like added more to it. I was like, it's going to be faster because yum is so slow. No, it's actually slower. It's just like a Python 3 yum, right? Which is not better. All right. Well, I'll leave the joys of yum to you, Lamont.
oh, I wonder if that is a breaking change. Oh fuck.
Is that a 16 breaking change or?
No, we backport DNF package, maybe a 15 breaking change.
Well, I mean, like if we broke that in 16 though.
Yeah, so correctly broken in 16 with the fixes that went in. So
this goes into my extended support comment that I made earlier. Like DNF, you can't fix bugs always because bugs require breaking changes.
Yep. So this may be the thing where you're now the magical epic crap all goes away. So the version needs to be the proper Evra. So if your epic is 1, you need to put a fucking 1 in there. Right?
Instead of just like 1.0, it's 1.0-1.
No, it's 1 colon, right?
Oh, whatever.
So you leave off the 1 colon. It used to magically work with the yum package provider, and yeah. It does not.
Is that because the magic was not proper magic, or just that we don't want to do magic anymore?
It's not proper magic.
Okay.
Because versions have a definition in that universe, and the definition of leaving the epic off is 0.
Can you splat those? Can you like?
You can splat those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's so the solution for a person that really just wants like 1.0 is 1.0 splat.
So now with DNF, with new DNF and with new yum, you can splat them.
Okay.
But like you should.
I'm gonna write that down because that is something that we need to document.
And yeah, that's just because like there is
And that isn't that. That's it.
We would have to fuck up our comparison operator to make it so that like 1.2.3 matched 0:1.2.3 and 1:1.2.3 and 3:1.2.3, right? And that just breaks it from working correctly. Because like
so that changes for yum in 16 as well. That's
no, yum got broken in 15.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm like, I thought we did all this stuff because I remember when you told me about it in 15, I was like, ugh, that's right, but annoying.
Yes. So it's like
I'm annoyed, but it's the right thing to do.
yes.
All right.
So splat has a specific meaning, which means anything, and leaving it off has a specific meaning, which means 0. Before we were just doing YOLO, making up our own chef policy.
All right, so I will get that added today as a breaking change and try to see if we wrote docs for that in 15. I think we had something where we mentioned that, and I can basically just like use that. Like we're aligning DNF with Yum's behavior, and this is why. I think this locale one got updated. I have not looked at it yet. I left some feedback for him that like the way we wrote the resource before was pretty terrible. So I was hoping that they would not just add windows, but also fix what was terrible. Let's see if they did it. No, this is still the same thing. This is not right. I don't know why this is so hard to get. Yeah, this is not going to work. Let's see. Oh, maybe that was just an IM. Yeah, I gotta go back. That's not actually updated, that's why. And then my other favorite PR, which is this get one. PR that keeps on giving. All right, that was. Well, Mon, do we have a better way to test the Y run stuff? Like I got messaged about this by MSys, and I was like, that's actually how we do it in some other places, but I don't know if that's the best. Where we just do like a before and after to set it to Y run and then take it off.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is more reason why we can't run our tests in parallel.
Oh yeah, because you're tweaking globals all over the place. Yeah.
Okay. There was like 5 or 6 places where we did exactly this, and I was like, yeah, that's probably fine.
I mean, so the thing to do, right? So if you supported dependency injection of chef config into every single object that used it, then you could do this and not pollute the global, right?
Yeah.
So they write a method which is def chef config, and then you just go inject a hash in there, which sets Y running false, right? And
well, or they could have like even just a stupid Y run question helper somewhere that you could just mock, right? It would really just look up the config.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We could abstract it for testing purposes a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so that's just minimum viable not having to screw with the global and your tests fixed, right?
Yeah. Do we want them to do that? Or
I would rather see it so that all of chef config was extracted to a method, because then ultimately you can go down the road of injecting that into the initializer and decoupling the whole thing. And we should probably start doing that.
so that would just be like a literal chef config method, and all that returns is chef config.
Yeah, for now, it's a chef config method that returns literally the simple chef config, right?
Yeah.
That lets you mock it out. You can write a helper on top of that if you want to, but you're getting into layers of indirection there.
Yep.
So then later, if you could do that to every single resource and provider, then you can add that to the base constructor, and you can dependency inject it all. And if you start pushing that into doing that consistently everywhere, then you've removed your tight coupling with chef config eventually.
All right. Do you want to look at this? And other than that, are we okay with it? Because honestly, I would just do that myself. It will take far longer to ask them to do that.
So here's the deal, which is like, I would need to spend a lot of time looking at this one, and I need to work on chef 16 because like, I don't care about this bug right now.
I'm fairly okay with this.
This bug is going to slip for a week or two.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm okay with this one. If you're not concerned with it.
Oh, I see. So it is actually not terribly hard.
They cleaned it up. Like they put, logical method names and some of the stuff that we asked them to do. They did.
Okay. I kind of think that should still be like safe get homedir or something, but whatever.
Is it safe though? Because they still.
No, they should extract that.
Oh, you mean they should have a safe? Yeah.
Right. So just bake the rescue of the argument error into safe get homedir, but whatever. Oh, I see they're using get homedir down there, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean that gets used in the other place, so you can't actually rescue it in the provider.
Yeah, you have to. Well, you could. Yeah, you could.
You have to have a safe and a get home, right?
Yep. So you just have multiple methods. I don't know. Sure, ship it.
Yeah. It's already in the release notes. Assume this passes. Before I get all excited here. Yeah, those don't matter. Yay! We finally merged that.
Is that do you know it would have passed if you didn't have those?
I didn't have what? The test kitchen?
We'll see what happens to master.
Oh, the test kitchen part?
Yeah.
It's the like part where like I don't think we're actually doing the test kitchen the way we think we're doing it.
Yeah.
Where like the depths are not right, where you get like a weird gem conflict where I'm like, where's this even coming from?
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with that PR, because I had that happen on a really old PR that had been rebased.
But you didn't get the green, so you could have two problems where the PR is busted it and you didn't get any tests.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll figure out what master breaks.
I mean, there's no way, like, I think rebasing it would probably be the real fix, but.
Yeah, rebasing it fixes that problem.
Yeah. I don't know why that. We got to look at that issue.
That's the. Yeah, we're not actually. We're not
testing it the way we think.
Well, no, it's the merge conflict is not quite working, so we're winding up with a hybrid.
Yeah.
Or the merge commit.
Because it's always like, oh, you're in your OHI depths conflict. I was like, no, they don't. Like that's not true at all. I think that's all we had. Oh, this chocolatey one was the other gift that keeps on giving. All right, let's see if this actually got updated. I don't think this got updated from the last. We get functional tests. Do we have a functional test? That didn't work. That's fine. That didn't work. All right, so we have a functional test, which was the last thing that you were asking for on this. They're same problem. Yeah.
Yeah. That is not good. Where is that chocolatey resource options combination request?
Yeah, it's oh hi again.
Yeah, so do we still have this Windows command line helper thing, right?
The mixin that
Yeah,
calls the helper.
I still don't like the entire concept of the mixin.
Yeah.
Gets failed on build kite from parse options. What? What?
Where? What are you seeing?
Yeah, okay. That fails because Child install should pass its option to install command that is running as a provider package chocolatey that's running on OpenSUSE. That should not be running on OpenSUSE. So
We just make that spec a Windows only spec. Yeah. If we just, I mean, we just make it a Windows only spec, then we can get rid of the mixin, right?
you don't even need to do it for that. So we still want to get rid of the mixin either way, I think.
But I mean, like the reasoning in that comment is that helps avoid the spec failure.
Yeah.
So just make it a Windows only spec and then get rid of the mixin.
Right.
If it's got to do FFI magic, then
Right.
let it do FFI magic. Do you want to leave that comment or? Oh, you already did.
Yeah.
Boom. Thumb. All right. That needs to get fixed. We need to ship that. I think that's all we have. Oh, I'm gonna leave one more request on that. Not that it matters for Windows stuff, but all right. So that's all the PRs. Look over at issues. Man, we do have a bunch of untriaged. So exciting. Does not validate if it exists, and so you get an error. Yeah, that was a bug. We got our knife label. Thanks to Lamont.
Knife config use profile doesn't validate the profile exists. No.
Yeah, I think this came from the, if I remember right.
I don't trust anything that guy says. BTM guy.
I think he just reopened an issue that came from the Learn Chef folks.
Yeah.
But they wrote a really strange issue. So
That what? Jason supports backwhack escapes, doesn't it? So this is like, that's Jason. Right?
So like the data that we have has a backslash in it, but then JSON just takes away the B.
String parsing has characters. Characters has characters. Yeah, there's a, it's a, what is it? It's a backslash, right? There's there's backslash escapes in JSON. It's doing it right.
Well, but I mean, like, what he's saying is that shouldn't get escaped.
That's backslash B, so that is equal to B.
Unless that's your password.
No, but if you want that, you need to backwhack back.
You gotta double it. So that basically it won't fix.
Well, this is how JSON parsing works.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wait, actually, so backwhack escape. Escape has to be one of a set, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know. Is that coming from FFI Agile or is that coming from JSON?
I hope we're not using JSON in the Vault stuff. Also, this belongs in the Knife Vault repo right now. As I look at that and realize that quick, right? Plugins. Knife.
Bar, no. What? Right.
No, it's just using JSON.
Okay, so convert to FFI Agile.
Yeah, which unfortunately means this is probably in Chef now because that all got forklifted into Chef.
What was it? RD or something like that. But JSON does it correctly.
Wait, did that get?
Oh no, it doesn't do it correctly. No. Yeah, that's wrong. Okay.
Why not? I guess I didn't forklift that. That probably would have made a lot more sense. I should have forklifted this. Oh, this isn't in Chef, but it is in Chef. Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. You should just like make Chef Vault actually in Chef and not a gem. Because those knife plugins are in every copy of Chef, but
so if you switch to FFI Agile, you're going to get a parse error because it's not a legal escape character.
Is that what you want?
Well, it does give the user a hint they did something wrong. So instead of just silently eating a back whack, it gives them a middle finger. But like, those are the options here.
Is that? I want to open up a Zendesk ticket here. I will look at that Zendesk ticket later to see a better example. I wonder if the problem is the data that's getting put in there that has that slash in it is the encrypted data and not the data they're actually trying to load. So they, at that point, they wouldn't have control over what goes into it.
Right.
But I'll have to look at that. Like, well, we can't, like, how can you change that?
Whatever is pasting that in there needs to do the proper escaping.
Yeah, so Vault itself would have to be like, let me go sanitize input, basically.
Oh, sure. I see what you're saying. Yes. So
If
maybe
it's not the user, if that's Vault, like, I gotta see what part of the onion this comes from.
Okay. So that's that. Yes. So knife vault maybe should be sanitizing its input before.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm gonna move this because it doesn't actually belong in this repo.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna label it for sustaining. I did this one the other day. I think we did screw this one up. I believe this is actually a bug, and I can fix that along with the other archive file problem. Just need some colon sprinkled on it. This is a known bug right now, and I think we have a fix for it.
What is that?
We had an issue.
Knife 4 days ago. Knife bootstrap asking even if P option is not provided. Knife bootstrap. Oh, what is that on? This is a password NG crap. P option is not provided. Oh, but this is sudo password or SSH password.
P is the SSH password, I think, right?
Yeah. Was that the one that just went in?
I don't know, but these things are hard to track down, like where they come from. Because when you're talking about Chef DK 4.7, like what version of train does that ship with?
Yep.
Like, that's like the hard part is like, this is a mix of like Chef's interaction with train and like, who knows what version is in that.
Oh, so this is the intended version of Bootstrap process prefer keys. So they're not saying this is the problem where the keys are not working. So this is probably a dupe. Yeah, what's 88 or whatever? Yeah, what's that one? Like click. Yeah, that one. Yeah, dupe of that one. Yep. This is the one I keep saying, like I keep yelling at people that somebody needs to fix this because like.
Oh, to not just default honor the identity file?
No, it's not working. There's crazy stuff going on between Knife Bootstrap and Train. crazy stuff really between chef and train, where
Well, but I mean, like, does this work if you specify?
yes, I believe that's the workaround.
Okay. So the behavior changes just before it just used it automatically, which is what you would expect.
Right. And it's also busted using credentials with, I think it's busted using credentials with target mode.
Can we hire Matt as our QA person for Bootstrap?
Um,
He seems to find all these problems. Matt, before we do a release, I need you to go try to use it. Can you find the Bootstrap problems? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I took a run at it and I got confused.
Yeah, it seems like the real fix for this is to fix the other one because, yeah, prompting for a password as a failback seems like a totally reasonable thing to me, but we should try to use the keys first because that would just be the way that SSH would work for a normal user. They would expect their keys to get used. Did he say that? Yeah, let me shuffle the MSys cards around and get that put to the top of their queue. Because that should get fixed and backported and all that fun stuff. We need to make sure that Bootstrap actually works, and I'm not entirely convinced that it works for a lot of use cases right now. Oh, this was the one that got filed by the Learn Chef folks. Did you like put stuff in the comments? Yeah, that's not how this works. There we go. I was really confused when I saw it the first time. I was like, he submitted an empty issue. Why would he do that? Oh, there's more in there. Most of these are home directory. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I was talking to him about that. That is,
As long as we don't try to replicate the like credentials file in your chef repo, I'm okay with that. That would be where I would draw the line. Because like the knife, you know, you could put like the knife file in your repo and we would search for it in your mono repo. But that sort of made sense because you could like use mvars and like make it customized to the user.
right.
So it would like use their keys. Somebody's going to be like, why can't I use their credentials file in the repo? And it'd be like, no, that's hard coded. and that means you're all sharing creds, which is terrible.
This will enable that. It's very hard to go.
I mean, it would enable it if they.
So we should do this. That will enable what you're talking about, though. But you should go talk to LearnChef to tell them not to do that.
Will it though? Because I think the behavior of the knife stuff is you put the .chef directory in the cookbook and we special case that when we look for the configs. It's not that it's in the current directory. It's that like it's a .chef directory.
I mean, the way I would do it, I was put the .chef directory in my git ignore or something like that because it's personal.
That might be in the git ignore we ship.
So
I have to look at this again.
Or the way that I usually roll, because I do it like 2010 style.
Yeah.
Is I've got my .chef directory and knife under there. And then I have a chef repo, which is then the git checkout of the mono repo.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think is perfectly reasonable. Because then it's like my private stuff, and then there's a git checkout of the shared stuff.
Sure.
But
I'm talking about like people who check a .chef directory into their mono repo.
Correct.
Which is the documented thing we have.
Oh.
It's like on the doc site telling you like, here's the places that we load and how we look for configs. Like you can use a shared config amongst your team and then put a templated knife.rb file, well, config.rb, whatever. Like put a templated config.rb file that, you know, fills in the user's magic so that like you all point to, so say when you're in the mono repo for like prod, you're pointing to the prod server.
So you should have that argument with them about changing that.
I can fix it on the doc site. Just go and delete that paragraph.
Yeah.
Don't use this feature.
Right. So
I don't think this enables that. It's close, but it's different.
I think it enables that. I think I had this argument though with Noah and Tom. So if we do this, I will win that argument. So I'm inclined to do this.
There's definite there's definite downsides to the credential system in the fact that it is now static config.
Yep.
I'm inclined to just say that we need to rip that band-aid off and kill the config RP. Because we have way too many config systems. We need like one config system.
The thing is,
I know there's issues with that.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I can dream though.
So like if you try and do that, like everybody who has little monkey patches in their config RB, because configuration is code, you break the crap out of them. And you go back to Berkshelf where it's like it's just a JSON file with the config.
I think I have removed some of the documentation showing people how to do crafty things in their config RB.
Yeah, but people figure it out.
They figure it out, but like I think our user base
We've
does
told
that less than they used to.
big sites to go do that because that's a way to hack around stuff. And
We've totally done it.
For doing things like appending to an array, you can't append to an array inside of a static JSON file.
Yep. Yeah, we need to not have two config formats though. We don't even have two. It's worse than that. We have three because Workstation has a config too.
You need a config format that, I mean, so
what if we switch it to YAML?
The thing is, though, is that you're always going to have two because that's the point of credentials, right? Is to split it out from your knife config. You can't merge that back. That's like the feature.
Well, but you can put knife config in your credentials. Noah added that.
Okay.
It's totally there.
But that's not what it's there for, because the idea is to have a private credentials file and then have a shared knife RB. So you have a static knife RB that nobody needs to update. Then you drop your credentials in the credentials. So that is where you're pointing at your SSH keys and stuff like that, and your personal stuff, your AWS.
I don't think we're really telling the people to do the shared knife RB anymore, though.
But you should have that under source control.
But people don't have mono repos.
But that should still be under some kind of source control.
I don't think people are doing that anymore.
Or it should be under chef control if they're managing their desktops.
Yeah, maybe.
So like that's the
Either
whole
where like I think the real like the layer of shared config magic in some magical world that doesn't exist would be like I would pull down my menu and select my automate server and I would get my base config.
Right. So this is your base config. You, like
yeah, if we then that makes sense. That use case makes sense.
Same, right? So then it's a matter though, like you download that. Well, how do you update that? Does everybody just go and re-download it or whatever? Well, why didn't you just like check that in, or why didn't you?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? It's configuration management, dude. That's what we do as a product.
That's what we do. I was not aware of what our product was. All right, back to this particular profiles.
Do I have to walk you through Mark Burgess and CF Engine all today?
No, I don't want to know. I don't ever want to have to do CF Engine again. Limelight tried to get me to learn CF Engine. I was like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. Do what I do with these things here. And I'm going to call this a knife issue, even though it's not really a knife issue. It's close enough. I think this is a bug, but I do think that this one is a dupe. That has my comment now. I'm going to make it a bug. Wait, why did that not get? Why is this in here twice?
Huh? Oh.
Why is there? That's just empty. I was like, I'm really confused why that's still there. Yeah.
Aren't we kind of done?
Oh, we can be done.
We're like 4 minutes over.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever this is, this seems fine. But...
Yeah, I actually asked him to move this because I was trying to get stuff out of the Windows cookbook. This came up. Who was I having a conversation with?
You don't need to explain it. Just
yeah.
So,
basically, our printer stuff kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It could be a lot better.
Yep.
All right.
I had a quick question about some Ojai stuff, but if you'd rather we wait, that's fine too.
Sure.
So I have been looking into some Ojai things that I've been running into with how you detect virtualization.
Yeah.
And one situation I ran into was if you're using a nested virtualization VM, you can't rely on using proc CPU or CPU info because it doesn't show that as a QEMU CPU. It actually shows it as, it looks like a legit CPU. And what I was wondering is that ideally, if LS CPU exists on the system, it is the most predictable way of figuring that out. And you have some logic in there for doing that, but it's basically like, if I can't figure anything out, I fall back to LS CPU and then I do stuff. I kind of like to make it so that we can pull in some of that information from LS CPU if it exists on a Linux system.
So do you want to use LS CPU first instead of last?
I think so, at least for virtualization. I'd like it to be able to do it because I looked in the source code. It's literally looking for like, am I a part of a hypervisor? It uses C code to figure that out on the system. And you don't have to try and parse anything in a CPU info to figure that all out. And that'll help with things like other architectures like Power and ARM and all of that, because they all standardize on it. And I tested it on all of them, and they all do the same thing. Like it'll tell me, hey, I'm in KVM, and I'm and all of that. So
Wait,
I mean, ideally we parse text files first because they're
right.
cheaper to parse.
Yep.
Um, but if we need to potentially shuffle some of that around, as long as we can avoid as much as possible showing out. Like,
Okay.
I know Ojai does a ton of that. It's already showing out probably like 25 times, but
Yeah, exactly.
we
Well,
can
the
not
other thing is like,
six.
if I wanted to create some new Ojai attributes under CPU, you know, is there a process for that, or I just make a PR and go with it, and you let me know what you like or don't like?
Just do it. I
Just
mean, if
do
you
it.
want to open an issue that, like, maybe a little better would be like open an issue and be like, I would like to add these 4 things. Does
Okay.
this make sense?
Okay.
yeah, as long as you're extending things and make sure that you think through issues of multiple values and if a static value needs to be like a hash or an array. So
Yeah.
Right.
later, right?
Yeah, we want to avoid issues like the virtualization plugin is super problematic and we'll probably never get to fix it because it's a pain in the ass to fix it. Of like, people look at like node virtualization guest, right? And then you can have multiple systems, and we didn't think about that in 2011. Yeah. And it's like, what if I'm both a host and a guest? And what if I'm, I don't know. Like, so, and even the system we came up with now is still problematic.
Yeah, I discovered where you changed it, and it shows that. And like, I discovered this because I found a bug. Actually, I created a pull request to fix it, where there was you typoed the field on DMI info for it to figure out the product name, so it wasn't automatically detecting the system as being an OpenStack VM.
Yeah.
I should also be seeing that it's a KVM system, but it's because it's a nested VM, it has nested enabled, it doesn't detect it. So then I was like, oh shit, how do I figure this out? And then I was like, well, LSP CPU is really the way to go, but I just want to be able to augment it. So before I go through all that effort, I wanted to make sure it seemed sane enough and all that.
Does LSCPU also work on RHEL 6?
I believe so, yeah.
I mean, with the same features, because, and it says, I mean, the man page says it only gets the information from sysfs and proc CPU info.
Give me a moment. I just spun up some VMs with it so I could test it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ran it, and it's actually, this is like ridiculously fast. So I'd be fine just using this. It's
it's really fast.
0.003 seconds. So I think we can take that hit in Ojai.
Yeah, it works there. Yeah, and CentOS 6. Yeah, it shows hypervisor vendor KVM virtualization type full.
Oh, you know what? Here's the real question. Is the JSON output in RHEL 6?
Say what?
It has an uppercase J flag. That would be cool if we could actually use that everywhere.
No.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
I would be really happy when like every command like this just gives me JSON back and I can just parse it.
Yeah, I know.
And not have to use terrible regexes.
I know. But at least the regex is pretty.
That's a pretty easy regex, and honestly, the JSON is pretty terrible too. It's literally it's the fields complete with all their terrible like.
It doesn't even show up in CentOS 7.
Oh well, what am I even on here? I bet I'm on like Ubuntu 18.04 or something.
Yep, it's on 8. Ooh, yeah, the JSON is pretty ugly though.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible JSON, but it's there.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
That came up like again, like somebody had that with some other stuff where like there's some things that Ojai were doing. They're like, oh, you can get JSON data for those utilities now. I think it was like IP has a JSON output. I'm like, yeah, but not in 2015. So sadly, I cannot use that. Yeah, I'd be fine, working this around and switching it. Just be careful.
Yeah.
Be like the virtualization detection stuff is a house of cards because those specs are all just unit tests. So if you just change around some ordering, like, and you're like, oh, everything's green, like you're not actually testing it. So you really have to think through like, what does this look like? The last time I went through was really just like, I'm going to spin up 50 VMs on as many different platforms as I can get and get all the outputs and try to like, you know, mentally run it through, but also like literally run it through. Cause it's so fragile how the ordering of these detections sucks.
Yeah, and I can't really test all the different platforms myself. I can only test what I have access to.
Yeah, and I was always like messaging people like, I think you have an OpenStack box. Can you tell me like what these 5 files look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably pretty safe as long as we understand like what the values of that field are going to be, and we can appropriately. It might be a behavior change, but it would probably be a good behavior change.
Okay. But yeah, there's some fields in LSCP that would be nice to have when I deal with other architectures.
If you could make that switch in the next 3 days.
I knew you were going to ask that.
Because it's kind of a breaking change.
Yeah, I know. I doubt it, but I'll see what I can do.
Stop sleeping.
Okay. All right, well, I got to go. I got to go do some other stuff. I wanted to ask that real quick.
See y'all later.
All right, bye.